you? I'm Tita Bethina right here at Baruch College.
And I'm Ari Goldberg. As the largest urban university system in the country, CUNY is all about offering people the chance to shape their lives through education. And we've got some particular inspiring stories about that this month.
Plus, we're featuring an interesting Baruch archive that not a lot of people know about, and we'll hear from Baruch's very own a cappella group. But first,
just a few years ago, during the Arab Spring, ALFIKY was a medic in Egypt, and now he's a photojournalist with a master's from the Craig Newman School of Journalism. Mary Avami tells us the story of his amazing journey.
My family wanted me to be a surgeon and to be rich and to be respected in Egypt, which I completely understand. But I grew up in the Middle East, and by the virtue of being like a Middle Eastern, of being an Egyptian, watching Al Jazeera, CNN, BBC all the time with all like what was happening in the region, I developed passion for visual storytelling. And I've always like admired being able to document the truth as it happens like in real time. That was one of the very first photographs I've ever taken in my life as a photojournalist. That was the Women's March in Egypt in 2011. I was on duty as a medic, but I didn't want to miss that important event. It was like having 1 million women marching in Egypt in 2000. That was big. That was huge.
Amer was just about to get his medical degree when the revolution started. He was accused of activism by the government forces, and for him and many of his friends, life changed course.
So Mustafa now lives in Philly, Khalid lives in Ohio. He was a dentist, but now he studies philosophy. Ahmed, pharmacist, and now he's in prison in Egypt. And Mahmoud, who was a lawyer, and now he's in prison in Egypt.
Being a medic during the revolution also caused Amer to be thrown in jail a couple of times. Despite always being released, his school banned him from taking his final exam to become a doctor. So his family recommended he fly to the US until things settled down.
When I first moved to New York, I didn't have a place to stay at, so sometimes I slept on the subway, sometimes I slept on the street, sometimes I slept where I used to work at, in an Egyptian restaurant.
2 weeks later, Amer learned an arrest warrant had been issued against him back in Egypt. He could no longer return.
And for 1 year, I was like working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day for like $4 or $5 an hour. My friends who were like with me in high school ended up in the US after the revolution, washing dishes and delivering food and working menial jobs. And I wanted to do a film about us, so I started like taking pictures of my iPhone.
In 2016, Amer attended a photography festival where he was able to connect with prestigious photo editors. His series on Egyptian exiles captured their attention. One of them is Andrew Mendelson, the Associate Dean of the Craig Newman Graduate School of Journalism.
He got me to audit one of the photojournalism classes at CUNY. That's how I met with James Istrin, the senior staff photographer at the New York Times and the photo editor of the New York Times Lens. And 1 month later, I saw my story ran in the New York Times.
Despite not having his bachelor's degree, Amer then decided to apply for a master's degree at the Craig Newman Graduate School of Journalism.
At that time, I was working on a coffee vendor in Columbus Circle. So I was walking to work, and I got an email from CUNY just that I got accepted, and they offered me a full tuition scholarship. And I still remember that day. It was like one of the most emotional moments that I've experienced since I left home in 2014. My first month in New York City, my friend suggested that we take the Staten Island ferry, which you can see the Statue of Liberty from like a little far away. So I took this photo on my iPhone. It symbolizes a lot about freedom and liberty, especially for us Egyptians or me and my friends. So like now everything is cloudy and you just see like a tiny Statue of Liberty in the distance. It was like once, like what we experienced once in Egypt during the Egyptian Revolution. So for me, that was like one of the most meaningful moments that I documented along this journey.
Amer successfully graduated in 2018 and has been working as a photojournalist for Reuters, the New York Times, and the Associated Press.
One of the stories I did was about Muslim gun owners in the United States. And after the story ran, I did it for the New York Times. It ran last June, and I got a lot of feedback, and I felt fulfilled and accomplished when people was like, oh, we didn't think of that before. We didn't think that Muslims would own guns and not be terrorists. The reason I want to be a journalist is I wanted to have like a role into like diversifying this industry and push back against like misrepresentation of minorities and other people who exist on this planet that we only see through media.
For Urban U, I'm Maria Vamin.
A Queens College grad from Kobe, Japan came to New York in search of a vibe. And for her, that vibe is jazz. Minnie Rowe has the story.
When I was at Queens College, I never thought about, or I didn't even think about myself being at Dizzy's Club or Smalls Jazz Club. Didn't really picture myself being on the stage and playing with the musicians that are high level.
Miki Yamanaka has been playing piano since age 5. Speaking little English when she arrived 7 years ago, Miki quickly adapted to the quirks and rhythms of the city, landing gigs in some of the coolest jazz clubs in town.
It used to be a challenge, of course. I couldn't speak English and I didn't know any tunes, but like the way I learned was from jam session. People kick my ass and like learn how to listen, learn how to learn the tunes, learn how to communicate with people.
For a jazz musician, fitting in with a trio one night and a quartet the next requires focus, discipline, and a measure of dexterity.
So it could be like, you know, like someday I played duo with just a bass player, just very intimate. Like right after that, maybe in the same night, I could totally play a big band gig. That is completely different role for me as a pianist. When I do a big band gig, for example, it's like I just have to make the band feel good and then play like the nice lyrical, nice stuff on top of everybody else. I just have to, you know, go with it and I have to know what I'm doing.
Her debut self-titled CD offers intricate, thoughtful, original tunes mixed with well-chosen classics, including her riff on a cut from Thelonious Monk.
I am very proud of it because I worked very hard on it. Picking Monk's tune is part of like, I would like to show my color. So when I play something that's written by someone who is very influential in this music, I would like to at least to respect how they wrote it and how they played it. And then after that, how I cook it is up to me. It's a very, very big challenge for me, but it is also fun to add my own musicality.
Miki draws on experience when advising aspiring musicians who seek to make their mark on New York's jazz scene.
I just found there are many jazz clubs in the city, so I basically started going out almost every single night. Every night, just try to meet new people, get better at communicating with people, of course playing piano as well. And if you play specifically jazz music, it's a community music. You have to be in the community. You have to find your own community that you feel like you belong to, and then find your voice. So like if you commit to it, you gotta do it. You gotta show up on time, dress nice, and be ready to play whatever comes to in front of your face. Every gig is different, and that's why it's really fun to play jazz.
I'm Minnie Rowe for Urban U.
Normally this is the part of the show where I do our For the Record segment, a little bite of CUNY history. But this month at Baruch College, we're diving a little bit deeper, digging into the archives of a hidden giant of 20th century government, Luther Gulick. But not just digging into the history itself, but how that history is getting preserved in the first place.
I ask people in government whether they know about Luther Gulick, who after all was active in city government until the 1960s. Nobody knows his name today.
Luther Gulick was a Renaissance man. Born in 1892 and dying in 1993, Yulux Fingerprints can be found across what seems like the entire breadth of 20th century government. On the national stage, he was a statistician for Woodrow Wilson in World War I, and then advised FDR on the creation of Social Security. On the international stage, he oversaw things like the U.S. feeding 500 million refugees after World War II, and helped save Egyptian monuments from flooding. And on the local stage, just to give you a sense of how long he served, Gulick was instrumental in rezoning New York City, both in 1916 and 1960. But Gulick's fingerprints were always more behind the scenes.
He wasn't a marquee name. His life will probably never be a movie because he didn't do anything outrageous. He wasn't scandalous. He didn't have love affairs. But his cause was government. Maybe that's not sexy today, but to me it is, because it shows how we can use the knowledge of how to organize ourselves to the benefit of people.
And the archives of Luther Gulick and his Institute of Public Administration are housed not in a presidential library or in a museum, but right here at Baruch College, under the oversight of former New York Times columnist, Pulitzer Prize winner Ralph Blumenthal. This year marks the 80th anniversary of Roosevelt's reorganization of the federal government, one of the major achievements of Gulick's career.
Difference between this, when Roosevelt was at the center of everything, and this, when all these different agencies were talking to his secretariat, and then they would tell Roosevelt what was going on, it freed him up.
As such, there is a renewed interest in the man and his legacy.
We're the natural home for this important archive, given the college's long-standing involvement in education for the practice of public administration. It started 100 years ago with the founding of what was then known as our School of Business and Civic Administration. And that tradition continues today with our Mark School of Public and International Affairs. We had to, of course, demonstrate that we would be great stewards of this collection, and we committed to preserving it and making it available for scholars around the world.
And it is indeed available, and not just to scholars around the world, but to the public.
It arrived in 700 boxes of stuff spilling out. I mean, just awful, no organization whatsoever. So we organized the material, and we did begin the digitization process. There's a good part of it that's now available online to scholars, to students here.
And to be sure, this is not just stuffy academia. These aren't just documents, these are artifacts you can interact with.
We have what we call the treasures of the collection. We have a letter from Albert Einstein, worth a lot of money today. 1934, Albert Einstein explains to Gulick that there's no scientific way of picking good government leaders. As smart as he is, relativity, he cannot tell you how to find a good public servant. We have the pen that Roosevelt used to sign the reorganization of the government 80 years ago. So we have, wonderful things that don't exist anywhere else. It makes history come alive.
There's a real sense of wonder to these archives, how scraps of paper and knickknacks shoved in a junk drawer 80 years ago become the treasures of today.
Yes, he was a hoarder. He saved everything during his time in World War II. He saved his laundry receipts. He saved his hotel bills. He saved his taxi receipts. He saved everything to our benefit. We have all his notes. We have the seating plan of the Nuremberg trial that he attended. We have prisoner of war cards that he collected. Maps of the Kremlin he collected.
It's a staggeringly large collection. But under the stewardship of Blumenthal's team and Baruch College, the goal is for the Luther Gulick archives to not just stand as an ode to a great public administrator or to just be an historical collection of the last century, but just as importantly, to also be a lesson for this century.
Government itself is in some disrepute today. People talk about, they run for office claiming they don't know anything about government. I'm a complete outsider, elect me. I've never been in the government. This is totally contrary and counter to what Gulick preached, that you have to know how government works. And it's not just academic, it's not just some old archive sitting there. There are important lessons here for today, especially today.
Among these stacks, over 100 years worth of documents and artifacts on good governance in New York City and around the world. From the archives at Baruch College, I'm Ari Goldberg for Urban U.
CUNY's Edward T. Rogowski internship program in government and public affairs is continuing the former professor's legacy of combining education and public service. Our very own intern, Jalen Arteaga, got a chance to interview the program's latest internship recipient.
For Wendy Gallegos from the CUNY Graduate Center, working for the Bronx district where she was raised was more than an amazing opportunity, it was personal.
So the Edward T. Rogowski program is a training and internship program for CUNY and SUNY students. You're recruited through different CUNY campuses, and what happens is you go through a series of trainings on local government, what are their functions and processes. And then once you complete those trainings, you can actually qualify to do an internship program within the city in either a city council member's office or a state assembly or state senator's office. So they connect you with the local elected officials in the city.
Once Vanessa Gibson was elected to office in the 16th district in the Bronx, she was able to be part of creating the foundation that would come to shape her office.
I was there when I was a little girl and remember playing in those streets and having it be an awful experience where any misstep could be catastrophic and a child could get really hurt. And I know firsthand the changes that have occurred there. Everything from the changes in small businesses, the changes in population, the changes in the outlook of our parks and our streets. Having those experiences as a child really helps me inform my council member and my boss and even our team about better ways of tackling a lot of those common issues that families face on a daily basis. It's about improving their daily quality of life, and understanding those issues firsthand really helps in informing that.
As I wanted to check in and discuss our FY19 Parks equity allocations through CPF for our 3 to 4 groups.
A chief of staff role within the city council, and for a council member in particular, is very multifaceted. You are tasked with overseeing all operations within the office, and council members in the city of New York, they have 2 offices. There is a district office and a legislative office, and I am charged with overseeing both offices and their daily operations. So it requires a lot of prioritizing, time management to be able to get those tasks done.
She also advocates for getting the community more involved in the going-ons of the neighborhood.
Your local community board is your most local form and your first form of local government. They can really play a pivotal role in that, in helping to spread that information, because right now it's a bit of a competition game in trying to get media to focus on a lot of the good and successes that happen in communities.
At the same time, Wendy still manages to carve out time to do what she really loves, and that's her passion for soccer.
On the field is where I can get to de-stress and sort of lose myself in the game. And it's very important for me to still make time for those things.
But even through all the stresses of work, Wendy remembers what is really important at the end of the day.
So it's finding a balance with it all, and for me also another important piece of it is family time. My family has been a strong supporter of me and everything I've done since I was a little girl, and being able to spend time with my family, especially my parents as they're getting older, is very important for me. I've come full circle, and it's something that is very rewarding for me, because I did grow up in the district I work in now and represent. I knew that my voice needed to be heard somewhere in the room, and it's a very, very successful program. It was an affirmation that this is what I wanted to do.
If you'd like to apply for the Edward T. Rogowski program, just like Wendy did, check out etinternship.cuny.edu. For Urban U, I'm Jalen Arteaga.
The dance program at Hunter College offers the opportunity to pursue a bachelor's degree in dance or a master's degree in dance education. It's a pretty cool arts program right in the heart of the city. Check out their video.
Hunter dance is incredibly conducive for creativity and an incredible breeding ground just to be who I am and to be an authentic artist.
It is the only CUNY that has a dance program.
It's affordable, it's here in the city.
I got here as soon as possible.
There's other dance programs in the city, but Hunter felt like the most community-like.
We have great diversity here, not just race, but class, nationality.
Different skill levels and backgrounds and styles of dance.
That just creates such beautiful texture, and it combines a lot of different voices.
I was really excited that their program was a BA. I also really enjoy singing, so I knew that I would be able to do that as well as doing dance.
I made 2 majors. One is social justice and the other is performance art.
I am a double major in anthropology and dance.
I'm a dance major and also a music minor.
My major is dance, but I am doing computer science on the side.
I am a BA MA in the dance education program. I don't have a minor right now, but I do plan on adding one eventually.
There's so many opportunities.
You have such close contact with the people that are teaching you and that are working with you to help you become a better dancer.
They're great mentors. If I ask, I know I will receive the help from them.
I hope to live my life as a dancer.
Ultimate goal number 1 is to be in a company. Ultimate goal number 2 is to be a dance educator.
Go into a PhD program, become a professor or researcher.
Teaching my style of contemporary.
Offers fitness and dance therapy to underserved communities, especially back in the Bronx, where I'm from. Come check us out.
We're all ready to welcome you to our department.
There's just like no bad feelings here. Everyone wants everyone else to succeed, really.
This program definitely shaped me into the person I am today, and I'm grateful for that.
Turn off the video and come out to the studio and dance with us.
That's our show for today. For more information on any of our stories, check out our website at tv.cuny.edu or take a look at our Urban U Facebook page.
We're going to leave you this month with a performance from Baruch's a cappella group, Blue Notes, performing just for us. We'll see you next month.
Bye.
Hi, we're Blue.
You think I'm stupid? You think I'm going crazy? You think I'm helpless? My algebra gonna do and turn. You think I'm calling? You think I'm calling out your name every night? Girl, I am falling for you.
What you say?
Oh my God, baby, baby, don't you see? I got everything you need. Oh, me and genius, love a woman like she. Oh my God, baby, baby, don't you see? I got everything you need. Oh, me and genius, love a woman like she. you.